oh boy, they just created a new type of technology for energy production. One that's renewable, does not pollute the environment, and takes advantage of rotational energy. So I can't wait to see how this thing works. What is it? How does it work? What? I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Can we see that again? Oh wow, you've invented the gearbox. That hasn't been around for only the last 100 years. This person doesn't understand how the relation between energy and torque works. I mean, when you apply to torque something, the formula for it is force multiplied by the distance from the actual center rotation of the axle. Now, energy is also calculated by the linear distance multiplied by the force applied. So then when you go further and further from the axle, the force goes down, but the distance goes up. So, put it like this. Say you have a door. The handle is on the opposite side from the hinges for a reason. It is easier to push. The work you do to open or close it is equal to the distance the handle travels multiplied by the force your hand applies to it. Now, if you tried to push against it closer to the hinges, you would have a shorter distance your hand would have to move, but it would have to apply a greater force. In both instances, the same work is done because the door travels the same distance. It's just that the further your hand is from the hinge, the less force you need to move it the same distance. Now, keep in mind, there is a difference between energy and moment, or torque. So in a nutshell, if a moment, or torque, were to be applied to an object to make it rotate, it would be the same throughout. The only difference is the output force depending upon the distance from the center of rotation. You could minimize the radius from the center, maximizing the force, but also lowering the linear distance. You could maximize the radius from the center, maximizing the linear distance traveled while minimizing the force. In both instances, the output energy is the same as the input energy no matter what you do. And that does not include friction. I have no idea where this extra energy this person is talking about is coming from. I personally think it does not exist.
He explained that years ago he'd realized that a particular rotational principle that is still being used in today's vehicles could be the solution he was looking for.
Nearly all cars do. It's called a gearbox.
As you can imagine, I had to know how this so-called energy converter worked, and if I could duplicate it for myself. After an hour of not understanding a single thing he told me, I was totally discouraged. I struggled to understand, yet I didn't have a technical bone in my body, so I had no idea what all these numbers and equations meant.
I bet you don't, because every technical bone in my body, and every one of them is technical, tells me that this will not work. You know what frustrates me the most about all this? A guy like that can make enough money to support a family, a home of his own, and his own vehicle by himself, and yet he's as dumb as this. Yet I, who's someone who is technically educated, can hardly even support myself. Isn't that just crazy? But you know, this whole thing is probably just made up anyway. You know, if your whole business strategy relies entirely on the ignorance of your customers, then imagine what that says about the quality of your products or the reputation of your business. These people say, "Oh, buy this book, we'll tell you what the secret is after you give us the money." I, on the other hand, give you the facts up front and then let you decide how much you want to support me. Who would you rather trust? If you like this video, be sure to rate it up, subscribe, ring the bell, and maybe even support me on Patreon if you want to continue to support more real scientific research and development, or at least more pseudo-scientific debunking videos such as this. I am the engineering vlogger, and I just want you to remember one thing. Scientific illiteracy does have consequences. Furthermore, I'm just frustrated with the number of positive reviews this thing is getting. I've been looking around and these aren't reviews. These are just advertisements pretending to be reviews. I know because it's the exact same phrasing over and over and over again. It's like some sort of multi-level marketing campaign, of which in those your chances of actually succeeding are worse than that of actually gambling statistically. Now I know you may still want to stick it to the power company and tell them you don't need them anymore, but think about how humiliated and depressed you'd be if you have to come crawling back on your hands and feet to them to tell them that you're wrong, you still need them. But if you still want to save money on your electricity bills, subscribe to this channel because I think I have an idea how to do that, but in a way that actually works.